Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. So today we're going to get that great overall stretch. We're going to work on that lower back and core, really just finding some relief there. So let's just take that moment before we get into our practice to let go of wherever we were or whatever we were doing before we rolled out our mats. Maybe you take a moment and sit on a block or blanket, but just rest our eyes, maybe drop the chin towards the chest slightly. And just take a moment to tune into your breath. The goal here is to focus in, knowing you've carved this time out for yourself today. And just take this moment to start enjoying your practice. Letting go of any tension you might feel. Relaxing the space between the eyes. We let the shoulders hang down just a little bit more as we lift through the crown of the head, finding that space between our vertebrae. Our palms are resting in whatever position feels most comfortable. And we either let the thoughts pass by and we try to elongate the space between them, or we focus in on our breath and we feel the belly expand and soften. And then as we exhale, the navel just naturally draws towards the spine. And we're letting that breath become longer, drawing more oxygen to the body and cells, bringing that new energy in with each inhale. And with the exhale, we're just letting go of any tension or whatever doesn't serve us today. Just taking a few more breaths, enjoying this peace and quiet. And then we'll take a nice big inhale and lengthen, reaching up through the fingers. And then exhaling, bring those hands down to the heart, dropping the chin slightly. And just giving yourself thanks for creating this time in your day to practice. Connecting with the mind, body, and breath. Inhale, reach back up towards the sky, open the eyes, and then float those arms down the side. Starting with a nice gentle twist today, we'll take that right hand to the left knee or thigh and bring the left hand towards the side. Remember, with every twist, we lengthen through the spine more than anything, and then we gently turn, massaging the internal organs. We can look towards the side direction or over the left shoulder, but we don't want to push too hard. We just want to gently open through the spine. As we enter into each pose, I invite you to check in on your breath. Notice how it changes. And if it becomes shortened, ease off of that position. Never pushing too far. 70% is all we ask for, because each time you practice, that 70% will become a little bit more. On your next exhale, gently ease off, come back to center, and then we'll move across to the other side. So bringing the left hand to the knee or the thigh, right hand comes to the side, lift and lengthen, and then turn and twist. Let the shoulders hang down. Focus on lifting through the crown of the head. Taking a few more breaths here. Again, more length through the spine, and then the turn and twist. On the next exhale, we'll ease off, come back to center. Roll the shoulders back, lift through the crown of the head, and then we'll do a nice gentle side body stretch. So right hand to the side, left arm comes overhead. We'll bend into that elbow. Find length from the fingers all the way down through your hip. The head can remain neutral. You could look down, really relaxing the neck, or turn and twist open to the sky. It's going to be completely up to you, but focus on lengthening from the fingers down to the hip. And then on an inhale, we'll come up. Bring that left arm up with you, and then, bend into the left arm. Right arm comes overhead. Again, we can have that neutral position. We could look down to the earth or up to the sky. Completely up to you. Avoid that bend in the arm, length from the fingers all the way down the side body. Two more breaths. And on the inhale, we'll bring both arms up, reach through the fingers, and then float down. Just really relax those arms down. We're going to take a moment and we're going to come onto our hands and knees. So stretch out the legs first. Give yourself that moment. Maybe you curl back the toes and you point them, just finding some length through the legs here. All right. Remember, when we come onto our hands and knees, we can always use a blanket underneath our knees if that feels good. We want to be really aware of our alignment. Bring the wrists under the shoulders and the knees under the hips. Spread those fingers nice and wide so that every inch of your palm comes onto the mat. And we're going to take a moment and just move in a way that feels good. So maybe you want to stretch out the hips and you do a big circle, drawing the hips to the heels, and you go around. And you do a couple circles that way, and then you go the other way. Or maybe it feels good to come back to that tabletop position and then do some cat and cow variations. So dropping your belly, you lift the hips and look up slightly on the inhale. And then exhaling, chin to chest, navel to spine, hunching and rounding the back. It's really going to be up to you. Follow your body and what it needs. Maybe that's tilting your hips or wagging your tail from side to side, finding a little bit more length through the side body. Maybe it's a combination of all three. So just listen to your body. Maybe you hold and push back out of the palms, finding a nice stretch through the spine. We're going to take 2 or 3 more breaths here, just moving in your own way. And then we'll come back to that tabletop position. We're going to start today with a nice gentle stretch of our hips. So we're going to come onto our bellies. So however you want to get there, we can come down nice and slow, extend the legs out, and we're going to get nice and comfortable on our bellies, bringing our elbows out to the sides, turning your head to one side. Take a few breaths. Take that second to align your spine, relax the feet down. Feel your belly expand into the mat with every breath that you take. From here, we're going to rest our head looking towards the right. And then we're going to bring our right knee up towards our right elbow. So the inside of the foot is on the mat. You have about a 90-degree angle with the knee. The higher you lift that knee towards your elbow, the more you're going to feel this stretch in the hips. But our goal is to relax our lower back now, gently opening up our hips and really just using gravity to our advantage. Remember that invitation is there during every pose or posture to connect with your breath. Let yourself relax through the upper body fully. And then we'll release and we'll draw that leg back, finding that great alignment through our spine, turning, looking the other direction, making sure we have a nice straight spine. We're nice and relaxed through the upper body. And then left knee comes towards the left elbow. Inside of the foot is on the mat, inside of the thigh. And we're just fully relaxing through that upper body, through the spine, and the lower back is nice and relaxed. Play around with how close your knee is towards your elbow. Make sure that right hip is nice and connected to the mat. And just take a few more breaths here. Really feel the chest and the ribs and belly expand into the mat with each breath. And then we'll release. We'll bring that leg back to meet the other. Find length through your spine. Maybe you rest the forehead on the mat or the palms. We're going to come up into a small cobra. So gently lifting up the chest. We'll bring the elbows underneath the shoulders. Press the palms into the mat. Really lift out of your shoulders. Expand through the chest and have the head nice and neutral. Remember that our hips, knees, and ankles are in alignment. The tops of the feet are flat on the mat. Now, if this feels good and you want to extend, you can push out with the arms and push into the palms. But if you feel any sort of tweak in the lower back, really just relax back down. And then release. Relax down to the mat. Bring the hands next to the ribs. And we're going to push back into child's pose. So push up and then extend the hips back to the heels. Reaching those arms out and then relax them down as the torso comes to the thighs. And the head rests on the mat or your palms or fists. And you just take a few breaths here, noticing how your body feels. You let that lower back hang closer, extending, lengthening. Your hips fall toward your heels. And you just notice how your spine feels. You use the forehead on the mat or your hands as a cue to soften between the eyes. And we'll take a few more breaths here. On the inhale, we'll come up onto the hands and knees, readjusting your position so that the wrists are under the shoulders and the knees are under the hips. And again, we'll move our spine. So if that's cat and cow, looking up on the inhales and back on the exhales, or circling or wagging your tail. We'll do 2 more breaths. And then we'll come back to what we call that tabletop position. So really come back to center. engaging the core. And we're going to extend that left leg out. Touch the toes to the ground and push into the heel. So push out of your palms, extend back, find length through the leg. Get a nice stretch here. And then we'll release. We'll relax that foot down. And then we'll extend the right leg back. Touch with the toes. Push out of the heel. Into the palms. And then release. Come back to your hands and knees. Back to child's pose. Feel that spine expand and relax down. And then inhale, come up. Hands and knees. Tabletop position. Left leg extends this time. So reach through your toes. Find length through your spine. Use your core. And then if you want, extend the right arm. So we're finding length from the fingers to the toes. A nice cross body stretch here. Using our core. And then if you want, 3 times elbow to knee. And then extend. Reaching on the inhale, exhale, elbow to knee. One more. Reach, 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 and then relax. Come back. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And then we'll go to the other side. So extend the right leg out. Reach through the toes. Find a nice stretch first. And then left arm extends. Remember, don't lock out your arm. Holding, reaching through from the fingers across the back to the toes. And then if you'd like, elbow to knee. And extend. Remember, keep the core engaged no matter where you are. Last one. Extend out, reach through the fingers to the toes, and then release. Push out of the palms, shift your weight back into kind of a child's pose, but just finding a nice stretch here. And then back up, hands and knees. Doing a little bit of opening through our spine here. We'll find ourselves with the weight into our left palm and extend that right arm to the sky. Just reach up, nice twist here, and then come back down. Lifting up, we'll do 3 on each side and back down. Nice opening of the chest here. Keep those hips nice and level as you lift up and then lower down. Find your center position and then shift your weight to your right palm so that the left arm extends up and then comes back down. Check in on your hips as you lift. Don't let them change. Nice neutral position, coming back down. One more time, lift and lengthen and back down. One more time, push out of the palms, shift your hips back, big stretch of the spine and lower back here. This time, relax all the way into child's pose. Notice how your spine is changed. Relax through the upper body. And then inhale and come up. Hands and knees. Before we come and turn, lay on mats, we're going to do a little bit more of a stretch through the hips. So reach those palms out a little bit further. We're going to take that right knee and bring it towards our right wrist. Relax the foot. Curl back your left toes, coming into pigeon. Extend that left leg back. Now from here, you can stay with your ankle under your hip and rock side to side if that feels good. You could simply hold or shimmy that right foot towards the center a little bit. That'll allow a little bit more space. You might have to extend that left leg back. And again, you can stay here and rock or come down onto the forearms or all the way down, resting the torso on the leg and the forehead on the mat. Remember, wherever you are, we're just accepting our body for where it is today. We might feel a little tingling sensation through the hip. We want to focus in on relaxing the lower back so our hips are nice and level. We'll take 3 more breaths here. Really focus in on letting that hip release and open. And then we'll slowly come up. So we bring our hands back towards our head and we push up. Today we're going to curl back our left toe so that we can bring our left knee a little bit forward and then bring our right leg back. And then we're going to switch so we keep our palms out in front. And then that left knee comes towards the left wrist. We curl back the right toes so we can extend that heel back, find a little bit more length in the leg. Again, ankle can stay under the hip and you can just rock side to side. Or you can shimmy that foot to the side, sink a little bit lower, extend that right leg back a little bit more and hold here. Come down onto the forearms or all the way down to the mat. Each option is a great place for your body. Just listening to how it feels and taking a few breaths. Remember that tingling sensation is a good thing. That's energy moving through your body. We'll take 2 more breaths. And then if we're all the way down, we'll bring the palms back towards the shoulders, slowly pushing up. And this time we'll just spill all that weight to the left side. We're going to swing that right leg around. Take a moment here, inserting 1 forward fold. We'll move our thighs to the side to find our sit bones. We'll keep our hips, knees, and ankles in alignment, keeping those knees nice and high so that we can sit up tall. And we'll inhale and lift the arms up overhead, finding length through the spine. And then as we exhale, bring the torso to the thighs, arms are underneath the knees. Relax the head down. And just focus in on the spine, finding that length through the lower back. And then we'll release. Release the arms, slowly come up and bring the hands to the side so we can scoot forward a little bit and come to lay on our backs. However you want to get there, you can hold on or challenge that core right away and slowly roll down. Take a moment lifting the hips so that the lower back comes nice and close to the mat. Hips, knees, and ankles are in alignment. And we're just taking a few breaths. Maybe the hands are on the belly. Feel that navel fall towards the spine as you exhale fully. Pressing in to the left foot. We're going to extend our right leg out nice and long, and then slowly lift it overhead as high as you can, and then slowly lower back down. Remember, the more controlled we are with this movement, the more we'll get out of the core work. So lifting and lowering at your own speed, but nice slow movements. Really extending through the front of the hip as you lower down. We'll do a few more. Maybe you feel a nice stretch through the back of the leg as you lift up. That's great. Focus on lowering down nice and slow. Let's do 2 more. Really feel that engagement in the core. On that last one, we'll lower all the way down until it just hovers. Maybe you relax and then lift the knee up and let the foot hit the ground. We'll switch, pressing into the right foot, extend the left leg. Let it hover and then lift up slowly. Again, as high as you can, and then lower down until it just hovers over the ground, and then lifting up. Moving at your own pace, but relaxing through the upper body, really engaging the core. Nice deep breaths. Challenge yourself with the pace that you're moving and try to slow it down just a little bit. Few more. All right, last one, lifting up and lower down. Let that foot hit the ground and then lift the knee back up. Realign your position so that everything's nice and engaged. And then we're going to come into a tabletop position from here. So we're going to bring the arms down the side of the body. The hands will be by your hips. We'll press in from the palms to the shoulders. Heads lifting up slightly. And then lift the feet up off the ground so that the knees are over the hips this time. Try to make your shins parallel to the ground. And then we're going to do a bicycle one side at a time. So extend the right leg out long, close to the ground, scooping up, and then bring it back. And then bring the left ankle towards the hip, extend out, and then back to tabletop. So nice, slow, big movements here. Remember, keep that core engaged. Pressing into the palms and shoulders really gives us the most here. And again, the slower you move, the better. The further you extend that leg out close to the ground and then scoop it up and bring back, the more you'll feel those lower abs working. Let's do one more round. Bringing those legs up and then bring the knees to the chest. Hug it in nice and tight. Find that length through the lower back. Relax the core for a moment. And then release. Let the feet hit the ground again. We'll bring the arms to the sides so that the palms are by the hips. This time, knees will come to chest. And then we'll either push the heels or the toes to the sky. So we'll lift the legs up. If the toes are to the sky, the knees will be nice and bent. Engaging the core to keep the legs up, or push through the heels, nice straight legs. If you want to get a little bit more of a stretch, but it's hard to do this, then you can use a strap or a blanket or towel to get that extension and pull the legs up higher. It's really going to be up to you, but just having the knees bent with the toes pointed to the sky is a great way to just reverse blood flow. And just take a moment. Bending the knees will bring the feet back to the ground. The fingertips may or may not brush the backs of the heels. We want the hips, knees, and ankles in alignment. And then we're going to lift our hips. So lift the hips, lower, and maybe middle back up off the mat, pressing them towards the sky. Getting a nice stretch through the front of the hips here. Remember to squeeze the knees together so that we have about a yoga block space between the knees so that everything's still in proper alignment. That weight is even in both feet. Lift a little bit higher and then lower back down. Draw the knees into the chest. Hug them in nice and tight. And then we're going to repeat. So we're going to bring those knees back to the sky, feet to the earth. Hands are to the sides. Press into the palms and shoulders. Knees to chest, toes or heels to sky. So wherever you are, use that core to bring the legs up. Or find that stretch through the back of the legs. And then release. Bring the feet back to the earth. Relax down. Fingertips may or may not brush those heels. Main thing is that alignment, hips, knees, and ankles, and then small bridge. So lifting the hips, lower and middle back up. And this time, if you'd like, you can lace the fingers behind the back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and lift the hips a little bit higher. Taking 2 more breaths here. Release the arms if they're laced and then lower back down. Relax the upper body, knees to chest. Hug them in tight. And then feet hit the ground. 1 more round. Arms close to the body, palms and shoulders press in, chins lifted so our neck's in a neutral position. Knees to chest, toes or heels to sky. Choosing that variation that works best for you. Hips, knees, and ankles are all in alignment. And then release. Lower back down, bring those feet to the earth. And then we're going to lift the hips 1 final time. So lifting the hips. Now you can lace your fingers again, or if you want to play around a little bit, really engage the core, squeezing through the glutes. You can lift one leg and then the other. So touch, lift the other, and touch. This requires an extreme amount of core and lower back strength as well as glutes to lift the leg. Moving nice and slow. One side and then the other. 1 more breath. And then we'll release. Lower back down. Bring the knees into the chest. Really hug them in nice and tight. Maybe you circle or you rock from side to side. And then from here, we'll bring one hand to each knee. Relax everything. And we're going to rock from side to side fully. So we're going to roll to one side. Maybe that's the left side. And we'll let that right knee open and pull us across to the other side and close the legs, rolling onto the temple. Just giving ourselves a nice little massage of the back. Turning from side to side. Doing a couple more rounds. Really let that hip open and pull you. So the knee and the hips open to the side, and then you just naturally close. Let's do one more round, both sides. And then we'll come back to center. We'll draw the knees into the chest. And then let the feet hit the ground. Let's extend the left leg out this time and draw the right knee towards the chest. Hug it in nice and tight. Pulling with both hands. In a nice stretch of the hip, we'll take just the right palm and pull the knee up and open to the right side. Tuck that right elbow in towards the thigh, giving you that extra space to open. And then we'll come to center and switch palms so that the left hand comes to the knee, and we'll go about 45 degrees across the body. So we try to keep the right hip close to the mat, giving us a nice stretch around the outside of the thigh and hip area. And then release. Come back to center, knee to chest, and stretch out the right leg. This time, left knee comes up. Use both hands to draw the knee to the chest, keeping those hips nice and level, pulling up as high as is comfortable. And then, left hand only, pull the knee up and across to the left side. Tuck that elbow in, relax the right arm to whatever position is comfortable. Keeping the upper body fully relaxed and just using the arm to aid in opening up the hips. Back to center, knee to chest, and then right hand to left knee, bringing about 45 degrees until you feel that stretch around the outside of the hip. Remember, if you don't feel it, pull up to the chest again and then across about 45 degrees. Come back to center, knee to chest. Bring that right knee up to meet it. Hug them in both nice and tight. And we'll let the feet hit the ground to come into our final twist. So bringing the arms like a T or a cross, or we bend the elbows so the palms go to the sky, looking like a cactus or field goal post. We'll lift our hips and move them to one side. Then bring the knees to the chest and let them hang across to the opposite side. Remember to let your opposite shoulder peel up off the mat. We can turn and look the other direction if that feels good. Your goal is to have a straight spine while you're on the mat. So we want to think about having our knees and our hips stacked. Really getting a nice twist by using gravity to our advantage. But again, nice straight spine here. Releasing, coming back to center first, then we'll move across to the other side. So maybe realign your position first and then lift the hips and move them to the other side. Knees to chest and then across. Let that shoulder peel up off the mat. Check in on your knees and hips. We can always tuck a blanket between the knees. That helps with alignment. And then turning and looking to the opposite direction if that feels good. and release. Come back to center. Lift the hips, then draw the knees into the chest. Get a nice stretch through the lower back. And then extend the legs out nice and long. Coming into our final resting pose. Allow yourself a moment to relax fully. Feet are at least hips distance apart, if not a little bit wider. We bring the arms away from the side of our body and the palms face the sky. Resting the eyes, we let our breath return to its natural rhythm. Relax through the upper body. Let the limbs feel a little bit heavier into the earth. Remember, this moment is an important piece of our practice. We're allowing that energy that we moved around to move back into our bodies to its natural home. Allowing our muscles a moment to relax after all the opening and strengthening that happened. And we allow our minds one more moment to rest. Check in on the space between your eyes. Let it soften a little bit more. Relaxing the face, the neck, the shoulders. Every inch of your body is falling a little bit closer to the earth. We'll take just a few more breaths here. Knowing we have this time carved out for ourselves. We'll start to wiggle the fingers and the toes. We roll the wrists and the ankles. Then we bring our feet together and the arms overhead, finding a big stretch through the whole body. We lift one knee and then the other. So we can lift our hips to one side and roll to the other. Moving at your own pace. We'll all eventually make our way up into a seated position. Just taking your time. Once we get here, we'll just take a moment with our breath. Wherever you are, we're just taking that time for ourselves. Maybe you feel called to move through the spine with a turn of the shoulders or circling of the spine all the way around. We'll take 2 more breaths. We let that smile come over, and then on our next inhale, we'll do a big reach through the fingers. And then the hands come together down in front of the heart. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're feeling great after today's session. Namaste, everyone. Thank you. Great practice. Namaste.